Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Dating After Divorce podcast. I have my friend, my money coach in the room, the one and only Serena Hicks. Welcome, Serena. I'm going to introduce you in a second. Serena is a Black biracial money mindset mentor for love-led humans. Oh my gosh, I love that. You burning bright, not burning out is what we do to have holy wow money. And it changes you and it changes the whole world. So you're the creator of the Boom Boom Room, where your beliefs about money and the patriarchy go boom. So tearing down all of that junk that we believe about money. You're also the creator of the Holy Wow Money Mastermind. Serena teaches how Holy Wow Money is about radical self-love, radical service to others, and some serious pleasure activism. Welcome to the podcast, Serena.
Hi, Sade and everybody. Thank you for having me. Happy to be here. Can I?
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm like, I want to add, and I know that you are working from the document I just sent, but I'm like, I said this recently and I'm like, oh, I need to remind everyone, Holy Well Money and actually the living unlimited energy of money is not about accumulating. It's about creating. It's not about taking a slice out of a pie. It's about being like, we're in a bakery. Let's make 40 like new pies so everybody can eat. That kind of party.
Yes.
Which I know you know, but I want to make sure.
Yeah, I had been stalking you forever and working with you for several months now.
Thank you. I know you know this. I just want your community.
Yeah, no, but I love the way you said that. Let's make 40 pies. But it's another thing. There's another spin you have on it, which is almost like let's make pies that haven't been seen before.
Yeah, I think I mean, you know this, but it's like Rumi said, what you seek seeks you too. And I'm actually reading a book that's called What You Want Wants You To. I'm like, it's just a riff on the Rumi quote, but it's all the same. And it's like, yeah, no, the money wants to move to us and work through us so that we're creating all new things. And I think the old patriarchal programming is like, these are the jobs, this is what's possible. And we live in a creative universe. And in particular, every one of us is a huge creator, but females and non-binary humans who started as female. And I just think like we have like extra magic and for creating new ways of being, new ways of doing things, like new stuff. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And you're here on the podcast to really show us the parallels between love, finding love, creating love, dating.
Yep. Killing me right now.
Like, every time we talk, it's like all the parallels are there.
Yes.
It's like same all the time. So I think I'll start just sort of like, talking about the background of the audience. My background, divorce and money are always a thing. Like there's I don't know any divorce where money was not a thing. In my situation, similar to many of the women in my audience, you have to slice the marital assets in half. That's what it's supposed to be. Like, except in my case, the marital assets sort of like for several years leading, I guess you could say a year or two leading up to the divorce, my ex-husband was doing a thing where he had funneled all the money.
Yeah, I think that's normal. Like that's not okay, of course, but money is power. And historically, and certainly in marriages, men have been in charge of the money as a form of power over women. And so I'm sorry you had that experience. I'm sure so many people in your community as well. And I'm like, that's not cool. And it's not unusual. It's just another form of manipulating.
Yeah. I mean, I do have clients and audience listeners. I've worked with clients who they were the ones who then had the assets. So I have a client who, worked for an oil and gas company, and her ex-husband, cheated on her for years and years and years and years, like was abusive, physically abusive, mentally abusive. And when she finally decided to get a divorce, it was like, hey, you got to slice your 401k in half. You got to, so it was sort of like I've taken all of this on. And she would tell me things that she had paid for him. She paid $8,000 for his braces, like even during times when he was living with someone else, And so there are these stories, however they come, divorce and money are always a thing. Few of us escape unscathed. So even if you had a great money mindset before all of this crap happens, then you come out with, but most of us didn't even go into our relationships with a great money mindset because, like you said, the systems of oppression that have been put in place. And, you know, just, I didn't have a great money mindset. I have a ton of money stories, as you know, that I came into my relationship with, and there were the ones that came in with my relationship, and I'm untangling and working through all of them. So in that context, because, you know, this is what you deal with like, hey, there's money, and then there's all this other crap and all these stories. Where do we start? Like, where do we start if you have any form of these stories? Where should a person start?
I think the first thing that I want everyone to know about money, the unlimited living energy of money, but money is never about money. Money is never about money. So when people don't have enough money, and I am one of those people, at this moment, I'm good, but like I filed a bankruptcy in 2008. I always had just enough money, as you know. So anyone who's, you know, new to my world and philosophy, like no shame, no shade. We're taught to be ashamed of not having enough money or having too much money. Like money and shame go together, but money is never about money. So like when I look back on how I always had like just enough, and sometimes I was overdrawn and like scared and couldn't go meet a friend for coffee or tea for 5 days because I was waiting on that next paycheck. Or I remember once I had a flat tire and a friend was able to drive me home. Oh no, it wasn't a flat tire. It was a battery. And it was like, cool. I just had to wait 3 days and let my car be where it was till the next payday came in, and then was able to take my car to get a new battery. It's like money is never about money. And like, even in that example, who I was could have asked a friend, can you loan me $200, or a parent, but I was so ashamed that I would be in a situation where I really honestly needed $150 that I like chose to suffer silently. But like suffering silently was like a major recurring theme in my life. That's why I always had like just enough money. I was so toxic independence as priority and worried about like how it looked to people. And so I think it's an interesting like part of my shift with money is, as I was cultivating a much more abundant money mindset, I was way less interested in how it looked to other people. It was suddenly like, cool, I'm going to look like broke, and I'm going to look, you know, like I'm embarrassing myself in my 40s. And if that's how it looks for a year or 3, I don't care. Like, if that's what it takes to build an actual healthy, wealthy future for myself, then like if I have to take 2 steps backwards, air quotes, in order to be able to be free to move forward, sign me up. And that's what I did. And that was the beginning of changing everything.
Yeah. And I do want to talk more about shame, but
I
want to ask you about the belief. So the belief that you had that made you willing. So it's like you were willing to take those 2 steps back and look bad in order to move forward. Like, what were you believing at that point?
That I was worthy of love, dignity, and respect for myself first and foremost. And, you know, if it looked bad to other people, which I know it did, I was like, and I know you know this story, but you guys, in 2018, I got pushed out of my job, which, you know, had been a little turbulent for a little while, but like literally pushed out. And then my big brother passed away 2 weeks later. He had cancer. So like that was coming down the pipeline. But I was 40, I was perpetually single, and I had been pushed out of a job. So no severance, no like support. It was just like, we're done with you now. And actually it all started because I wanted to receive a severance package. They were giving people the like, hey, we have to cut people. If you want to be one of them, raise your hand. And I was like, hey, I'm going to do that. My boss was like, do not embarrass me. And he literally told me, if you volunteer for the severance, I will make sure you never get any. Good job, bro. He did. And so, right, I'm like pushed out, mad as hell. I've been living paycheck to paycheck, which is why I hadn't left the job. I knew it wasn't, I knew it was toxic, but when you live paycheck to paycheck, what do you know, it's like, where's the money coming from? Which is another reason I'd wanted the severance that I'd been denied. And it was all horrible and a magnificent opportunity for me to recognize that I'd been trying to earn validation and earn worthiness and earn my keep as a, let me help you with that. Let me stay late at work. Let me come in early at work. I've been trying to earn my lovability in all of these ways. And I was like, meanwhile, I'm broke and just got fired. So F that. New rule. I love myself. I validate myself. If no one else on this planet sees me as worthy of love and dignity, I choose to, for me. And that's, I think, what liberated me. I mean, I still have a human brain, but it was suddenly like, cool. And so I remember thinking like, it didn't happen, but my lease was up on my apartment and had already given notice. And that was before I got pushed out of my job. And anyone who lives in an apartment, if you don't know, let me tell you, apartments, at least in Austin, Texas, like to see a W-2. They like proof of employment. So to not be employed to not have proof of employment, to have just cashed in the very end of your 401k. And I had filed a bankruptcy in 2008. So my like 401k cash in was like $4,500. So I literally didn't have money for like the next 6 weeks. It was like maybe a month. And I sure didn't have like first and last month's rent. And so I was like, I have to find a private renter. There's no apartment building in the state of Texas that'll let me in. And I also, was grieving. My big brother just died like 2 weeks after that. So it was this like, I wasn't in a like, let me just get me a job kind of, I was a mess. And all of it to say, it looked like a magic miracle occurred instead, but it looked like I was going to move in with this 25-year-old kid. And you guys, I'm 40 as a female. And I was like, great, I'm going to live with this nice kid who's a manager of a restaurant. And we're going to share a bathroom because he has a 2-bedroom, 1 bath, and he and his girlfriend broke up. And he doesn't need a W-2. And he's not old enough to ask me to see like the next month's rent. So that was, we met on Craigslist, like good kid, sweet kid. He won't harm me or the cats. Like this is happening. And a miracle occurred and I ended up in another place for the same amount of money. But I remember thinking, people I worked with will totally hear about this and make fun of me. And I do think it was a pivotal moment when I remember thinking, I don't care anymore. Like the person I'm going to be 5 years from now definitely doesn't care. So like, yes, I will be the topic at happy hour. People will laugh at me and they don't count. I count what I think, and not how it looks, but the foundational security of how it is. That became my new priority.
Oh yeah. I mean, that's so good. I mean, that parallels to so many divorce stories because like, when you look at the wage gap, that's there. But many women who get divorced are stay-at-home moms.
Yeah.
Like gave up their careers.
Yes.
So then when you get in many ways pushed out, which that happens, or if you had to flee the marital home because of abuse, it's literally the same situation. You haven't worked in years, and I hadn't worked in years. So I was a stay-at-home mom when I got divorced. So it was like, landlord after landlord was like, okay, where's your pay? Where's your W-2? I'm like, well, I was, my first job after the divorce was a nanny. I was nannying for a friend of a friend. So like I had that letter and I had, the checks, but he was like, yeah, no, anywhere that was nice. And this is, I was coming from, we lived in my marital home was a 7-bedroom, 4,000 square foot, 5-bath home on a third of an acre. And here I was like, and I owned that home, co-owned that home. And here I was like, just going from door to door, say, hey, will someone give me a place to stay? So that feeling that like, oh my gosh, what's going to happen? That panic, that fear,
terror,
that anxiety. Yeah. That's the word.
I mean, I could argue we don't require shelter, but yeah, we do. That is just one of our most basic sense of safety is like, where will I eat? Where will I sleep? And when that is in jeopardy, it just, I mean, of course, we're animal creatures. It triggers all of the terror, all of the trauma, all of the everything.
Yes. Yeah. In the divorce community, and I don't know if this is, we just call it survival mode. Survival to thriving. Are you in survival mode or are you okay? So you at that moment said, I don't care what other people think.
I mean, I'm still human. So like, I wasn't like smiling, imagining people making fun of me at a happy hour, but I was also like the most important thing. And it was a new thing for me. And as you know, even this calendar year, like I don't do resolutions, but it was like, I belong to myself. Like that's the new thing. It was like that. It was a different version because this was, in end of 2018, 2019, but it was this like, and I know that you know this because this is something that you coach me on. It's like when we choose to love, accept, and validate ourselves, A, then we attract people who are a match for that. But B, like the power is where it's meant to be, which is right in the middle of us. It's not a power that we've given to someone else. It's not a like, oh, they like me, now I can like me. Oh, they think I'm pretty, now I can think I'm pretty. It's the like, it's in the right place. We own our innate personal power and innate worthiness of love, dignity, and respect. And if other people don't see that, that's not ideal, but like that's their problem and not one that we're going to be worried about.
Yeah. Do we also own our innate ability to create money in the same way? Yeah.
I'm like, I feel good about it in money, finding my partner, as you know, I'm struggling with belief there. I'm struggling with belief there. And that's part of where it was like, oh, let's talk about this, because it's totally the same game. It was, I think that was also part of the audacity of that season, that exact season of my life, was just I didn't know the energy of money as I currently do. I just, from that, mostly like 98% don't care how it looks anymore. I'm going to take actual care of me, take excellent care of me. So if it looks like 2 steps back, or even if it is 3 steps back, like whatever it takes to get into healthy, secure alignment, that was my long-term plan. So I ended up meeting the 25-year-old kid I was going to like share a bathroom with, met him on Craigslist. And he was like, yeah, great. You could move in next week or whenever, like my lease was up in like literally 2 weeks. And I was like, okay, I already have this other appointment to see this other apartment. So let me just, do that and I'll get back to you. And I see this other apartment. It's a high rise on Rainy Street in Austin, which is a really great space overlooking like Lakeview. And like every apartment in that high rise does not have Lakeview, y'all. And the guy was basically engaged and living with his new fiance. And he was like, secretly, illegally Airbnb-ing it. And he was like, I would rather just rent to you and be done. And, back to shame, which we totally have to talk about. I wasn't proud, but since I had this new mindset, I wasn't like deeply ashamed. And I was like, listen, dude, things are really tight financially. And, this last place I looked at was like, whatever it was, $1,000. And this is like 2,100, whatever. I got to do $1,000. And he was like, you know what, can you just give me an hour? And anyways, he ended up calling and he was like, I looked on LinkedIn and you used to know my friend Ani, and Ani and I went to MBA school together. And Ani says you're good people. And I would rather you pay out, it was a sublease, but he was like, I would just rather you pay out these months. And I know that nobody's going to build a meth lab. And even though I'm losing some money, I'm not losing as much money as if it's empty. And he was just like, it's just a win-win. So like, why don't you just pay me that $1,000? I'll pay the rest. You stay here. Never saw the guy again. No problems. Like, we would just text when I was like, okay, I just sent you the money. And he's like, got it. Thanks. Talk next month. And then I ended up staying in that apartment. That's how I met my now ex. But it was such a, so for anyone who's like money mindset and rolling their eyes, money mindset might also be another word for like making miracles, which I also think is what you coach me on as it pertains to like, how am I finding the love of my life? Like I can't white knuckle plan it. I have to like be available, and then miracles occur in that order.
Yeah. 100%. I mean, and I always say, like, you have to leave room for that magic. Like, we're on the apps and we do all the things. And once you've done all that, then you've got to leave room for magic. Like everything is a guideline. There are no formulas. But I love there's that shift that you're describing. And I can see it when my clients get it, when they're in that shift of like, oh yeah, this is up to me. I'm fully empowered to create this relationship. This relationship exists.
Like, that's what's so wild. And it's so fun because I'm like, I'm so clear in money and I come and go as it pertains to relationships, which but for listeners, I'm like, in money, I'm like, no, we all have this innate personal power. It's so great, like blah, blah, blah. And then when it comes to like actual true love, I'm like, I don't know. Maybe I'm one of the 10 people who will never find it, Sade.
Who will never, out of the 8 billion people on the planet.
I want to interrupt us. I apologize to you personally for this, but you guys, true story, I fight with Sade all day about how much I like hate the apps. And just so you know, I built a multi-million-dollar business literally based on apps. Just Facebook and Instagram, organic marketing. Yet I'm like, no, 100%. It doesn't work for dating. It doesn't work.
Yes, 100%. But you know what? I'm getting better at I'm explaining it 100,000 different ways.
I know, but it's so funny to me how silly my brain is, because I have clients be like, I can't grow my business. I need paid ads. I need to go to 7 networking events a day. And I'm like, no, I grew my business just telling people how I could help them literally on like organically on Facebook. And yet my brain is still fighting you that I could go to an app literally built for meeting people. And that it could work. It's so bizarre.
All of the people are here,
My brain is like, no,
I started collecting the celebrity stories. Yeah. Like all of the rich people who are meeting their partners on the apps. I'm like, listen, Chrissy Metz from This Is Us. I can't remember her name on This Is Us.
I know that show. I haven't watched it.
They were the couple that were losing weight. They met at a weight loss event.
Yeah.
Yes, she met her person on Bumble. She's my favorite.
Everybody meets on Bumble. Everybody meets on Bumble.
Yeah. But let's talk about the energy of money, because I really love that, because I think for many of us during our personal growth journey and our achievement, when we're transforming, we can look back and we see those, some people have different names for it, shifts. And energy, shift,
Mhm.
intentions. I think everyone who has made a difference knows the moments where something shifted, something made a difference, something hit them, whether they were at church or they were reading a book or they were walking in the woods, and it just hit them what the next thing was. And that's what you're talking about with money.
Yes.
Right. So how do we engage with that? How do we say, okay, right now I am divorcing and it's terrible. My ex
miserable.
is like, money is miserable. He's taking all the money. I can't access the account.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Where do we find that energy? Where do we find that connection to money?
I think it's a circle inward, like circle the wagons and go inside. Like it is a reclamation of, he can keep me from our money. He can even, it's not okay, or she or they, but like it's not about money. It's like, especially if someone is wielding the tool of money as a weapon, recognizing that's what they're doing. And just like people, unfortunately, can use their words and their fists to harm, it's also like, as it pertains to money, I think it's similar to words. And what is it? Offense can never be given, it can only be taken. As it pertains like to words. And I know that's an advanced concept. I know all of your clients are, and it's similar. It's an advanced concept, but I know your people. And it's like, okay, same with money. So even if it's a truly tense, scary time, in a way, I get like a vision of like, this is the part where you're learning how to sail in choppy seas. Like, I think a part of my relationship with money, of course, it was like origin story, being kicked out of a job and grieving my brother, and literally no cash available, guys, no credit available. I cashed in my 401k. I had a bankruptcy on my credit. Like there wasn't a bank loan available. There wasn't a car to sell. I looked into it. I owed more my monthly payments. So it wasn't, I sold it years later, or a big year later. But like the point is, at that time, if I sold my car, I still was going to owe the bank more money. Like it was just, and it was like a forced, in a way, a forced invitation to go within and be like, what truly matters? And it was like, not abandoning myself in this, not beating myself down in this, not shaming myself. Like the world may be up to that with me right now. And now is my chance to be like, no, I have my inner Serena. I love inner Serena. And everybody use the word that feels right to you. But I was like, I'm choosing to trust God in this. And not trust like some super passive, don't know what happens. It was like, say my prayers, move my feet kind of party. But it was also like, actually Mike Dooley, who I love very much, he does, I think it's called Tut, like every day, like these great sayings. But he says, and it's something that I hadn't heard back then, but I know now and don't say out loud very often because I think it might terrify some people, but always trust a hurricane. And that it was this huge up-leveling / storm. And yet it's plain as day when I look back there. And even when Matt and I split, it's like hurricane. And yet it's like, we're just God, the divine, ancestors and angels are just doing some serious rearranging of things. And so as long as I'm tuned in to whose I am, which is mine and the divine, then I'm less in other people's business or attached again to external validation, less giving other people power. So it's more about, I think for people who are super stressy right now, it's such a pain in the ass. And I genuinely, like, I am sorry. It sucks. And I wonder, because I've never birthed a child, if it's a bit like childbirth in that it's messy and it is transformational, whether it was a C-section or a canal birth, doesn't matter. It is a life-altering experience by every account. And like it changes the mother. Like it's a rite of passage to choose to give yourself love, dignity, and respect. When this world glamorizes and glorifies money so much that, you know, we're supposed to be ashamed if we don't have enough. We're supposed to be deeply ashamed if we need to ask friend or family member or church or synagogue or bank for support. We're supposed to be deeply disgusted and rejecting ourselves if any payment is, you know, an hour late. And like, guys, let's make payments when we can, but also they charge late fees for a reason.
And even welfare, like I've coached women who are like, I might have to go on welfare. And I was like,
do it.
That's what it's for.
That's what I've been paying taxes, please.
Yeah, exactly. That's what it's for. So I was on welfare for about 8 months. before I finally found a job that actually paid so that I could actually care for myself and the 5 children that were living with me at the time, before the divorce was finalized, because literally what just happened was freeze everything, which then meant that he spent everything and there was nothing left by the time the divorce was finalized. And I think there was 1 month where they sent me a check that overlapped with when I started working, and 6 months later, they were like, oh yeah, so we need this $800 back. I'm like, dang, you guys are I was happy to send them the $800.
Happy to have the 800 to send back, right?
But I've said, hey, that's what welfare is for.
Yes,
you are worthy of
yes,
being cared for, of being supported, of being loved on. And it's interesting that we create a system that doesn't pay women what they need, doesn't care for the mom and children and all the things. We won't go into all of that. You're paying for everything. And if you ever slip, if you're going through a divorce, if you're sick, it's the message. Now, this isn't necessarily the reality in every case, but the messaging, and that messaging is from when we're kids, we're being told, don't go into debt, don't ask for money, don't, it was just,
don't have needs.
Don't have needs. Don't have needs. That's it right there.
Take whatever your husband gives you financially and be thrilled. And as you know, we've coached on this, you guys, but one of the messed up messages I got from my family of origin was make your own money, never need money from a man. And at the same time, take care of your man, cook for him, clean for him, do all the things. And it was so funny to unwind in therapy before we started working together. When I was working, at the time I was with my now ex, and realizing this is some messed up messaging. I wish I'd been given the message either your man pays for everything and you take care of him, or opposite side of the coin, you absolutely pay for everything in your own world and be financially independent, but you're not cooking him dinner. Yeah. And instead, I was socialized with the message on many, many levels, including society, but certainly in my family of origin of you need to make your own money. It is beyond shameful to need anything, which is part of my story with my ex, is that when we moved in, which was a huge thing for me, he's the only person I'd ever lived with. And he was like, I'm going to pay for food and groceries. You're growing a business and you're a bit of, it's a thing. So I'm just going to take care of all our food. You will eat, the end, always. And it was such a game changer for me to receive that generosity and to receive it. And a part of why my business boomed, and a part of something I'm grateful for with him, is I received it. I remember the pivotal moment where it was what if he shames me, or what if, any version. And I remember being nope, I'm going to trust him in his word. And if he ever attempts to hold this over my head in any way, that's not going to be okay. You know what I mean? I'm receiving his gift. And if at any point he wants to double back on it, I will judge him accordingly. Not, judge myself.
That's huge. That's huge. Especially if you experience financial trauma or being shamed in the past, the fear. And I think this is huge. I think I've experienced this. We are often plotting this path to money that involves avoiding any kind of shame or embarrassment. And that sabotages it.
You're exactly right. It's like me trying to date without any disappointment. It's not going well, you guys. I mean, dating's going well. I work with Sade, but it's we have discovered that I do not delight in being disappointed. So I would rather disappoint myself and be nope, not going out, not doing the thing. And it's what are the odds? I am going to obviously the story ends with true love, but that's exactly right. Trying to learn how to make and without shame receive financial support, be it welfare, gifts, loans, or air quotes, earning it from a job or business. All are same, my friends. It's all the divine gets to use anyone or any way or anything to support you. So attempting to be open to receive without any version of so-called shame, which is usually just our socialization, which I know that's a whole other episode, is the equivalent of looking for your true love match without ever being disappointed on a date, ever. Maybe it could happen.
Yeah, no, but that's amazing, because I think that's one of the keys. And I want to talk about, receiving in a second, but that shame around it. There's so much messaging, just like the messaging around dating. I've done a whole episodes around why dating feels terrible, because it is because of the messaging that we received. And so that really creates this boulder that we're carrying on our backs, trying to make money, but we're also trying to make sure we keep all the rules and be good girls and be nice and not intimidating or all of that.
Yep.
Along the way.
It's totally the same.
Yeah, I remember, and I think this is something I heard you say, but with different words just a few minutes ago. It sounded like you refused to accept that outcome as being the end of your money story.
Which outcome?
Right? The outcome of not having money. After everything happened with your job, you were like, oh yeah, no, we're changing. This isn't the end. Like
I like how you said it. It was a chapter in my book.
I heard that.
It was a chapter in my book. I stopped seeing it. And granted, great news. I was busy being single and 40. So I was like too young to retire. And my grandparents are alive and well. So like, there's no inheritance coming for at least 20 years. So it was this, but yes, it was like, this is a season. My point of view was, this is certainly in hindsight, it was a very challenging season, but to your point, it was like, this is a chapter in my book. And in a way, I think I even started telling myself the story of like, this is my origin story, which is not a coincidence because it in every way is and was.
Yes, 100%. And I felt that because I remember when I couldn't find any jobs, I couldn't there was just that whole period, and a friend. So I tend to be surrounded by physicians. My dad was a surgeon. My brother was a physician. So like half of my high school class became physicians. So it's just it's a thing. It's a Nigerian thing. So I have lots of friends. And so I have a friend who is married to a physician, and another friend of theirs who's a physician needed a nanny. His nanny left. And I was like, wow, okay. So I will come nanny for you. Right. And that was the same energy. It was like, yeah, no, I'm not going to be nanny forever. I'm not going to, but right now he wants to pay me $2,000 a month.
Yes.
Yes.
I know how to do that. It's emotionally and physically safe. I'm in. That's it. That's exactly it.
100%. All right. So now let's get to the good stuff.
Oh, okay.
Your business and when you shifted into receiving money, when you started receiving money, your journey to receiving that, because you have now at this point received millions.
Over two at this
dollars.
Point. What is even happening? It's bananas to me. And yet I'm like, no, it's not. That was the plan. But like literally, I everything sort of happened at once, which has everything to do with my surrendered state, if you will, and being like, as you said, like, this is not the end of a story. This is just a moment. And so falling in love and receiving his love had a lot to do also with financial support when we moved in together. Like, again, the key part that I want to make sure everyone is hearing, because at least for me, it was beyond pivotal, was to receive his generous gift. As in, when we split up, I wasn't like, you paid for groceries for a year, all by yourself. Here's a check, even though I have piles of money and could have done that. At some point, I did sell my car just for the extra money to pay bills. And he was like, you will drive my car whenever you need it. And again, I received that. I wasn't like, okay, I don't need it, except for it was like, can I take the car whenever I felt like it? And the answer was always yes. And again, I chose to receive that. I was like, if at any point ever he holds it over my head, I won't be okay with it. That won't be casual. That will be like, you gave me a gift and I received it. Like, what is happening? Never happened, to his credit. But the receiving, in a way, you guys, it's like, I think of being gutted in the best way, because when clients or employers, for those of your clients who, are like, no, I'm not an entrepreneur, I have a, job, in order to receive, it's like, we have to expand our capacity to receive. We have to be able to tolerate support. And remember, not tit for tat, not I'll pay them back later, not like, I owe them for this. Receiving is getting the raise, or if it's a, listen, I'm gonna need to get paid early, whatever it is, receiving is receiving it. And like, that's it. Thank you. I am worthy of this. I'm glad I asked. And thank you. Meaning if the person or the organization or anything ever tries to be like, well, you owe me, it's like, no. That was not what we talked about. So I think it nourished me, it supported me in all these different ways. And then also it emboldened me, because again, it started with me. And then also, for your listeners, I want to make clear, I'm like, sure, if my now ex was supportive of my business, of course he was, because I supported me and I supported my business, like emotionally. It was like, that was never in question. I hear about people being like, well, my new partner doesn't like my business. And I'm like, I don't understand. And I try not to judge, but for me, it was my baby. It would be the equivalent of someone coming into my universe being like, I really like you. You can get rid of your toddler. No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. And the dating equivalent, which I have talked about this quite a bit with, in my emails, was like, there's a tolerance because of what's been messaged of emotional neglect with guys. I'm reading relationship books and marriage books that they say things like, so men compartmentalize, and when they're at work, they really don't think about, and they make it sound like it's some kind of biological installation. Listen, Ken hears all about this all the time. He hears all my rants about this stuff. And so we get conditioned to believe that, the way men think, they can't be there for you. They can't text you back. They can't. And I'm like, no, they've been conditioned, and they have been conditioned as well to believe that. And you've been conditioned to tolerate it. And so with my relationships with my clients, I'm always telling them nourishing is what we're looking for. And I love that you use that in your work as well.
We have that in common, because that's the energy of it, though. Nourishing is an entirely different energy, right? Like it's entirely different than I ate food, I drank water. Nourishing food, nourishing company, nourishing self-talk.
Yeah.
Entirely different.
Yeah. I mean, when I don't have a diagnosis of anxiety, but I feel anxious frequently, right? I can go to my husband's office and be like, hey, I need a hug, right? Like, it's nourishing. He's working, and yes, he's busy. But guess what? Our relationship contract, the relationship I have signed up for, is one where my partner is available to like help me with my nervous system when I need it. And so part of the work, I think, with a lot of my clients is helping them see that is available and exists, and then helping them tolerate having it and becoming more intolerant of not having that kind of a relationship. And it sounds like that's what you're describing.
Yeah, it was a game changer. I love my business deeply. And as you know, like, I have much love and gratitude to my ex, who will remain my ex. Like, that's right as rain, but it's also like, yep, nope. I was very privileged to find someone, which I also brag I co-created, because we talked about my surrender. I was not looking when I found him. It was very like, F it. Everybody thinks I'm a loser at 40. I don't care. That was really the vibe. It was like, I'm gonna take care of me and everything else will be sorted out afterwards. And it's like, no, it was really nourishing, not to overuse our word, but like, to be, to get to grow my business baby feeling supported. And I love the hug thing, because that was a big deal. And I think that's actually, I want to offer, that's part of my frustration as a dater, is like, I don't actually want to hug a whole bunch of strangers. I'm real clear. Like, I'm not trying to go on Bumble and like get on dates and hug. And I'm like, I'm so deficient in hugs and have been for over a year. It's a wonder I'm like not way more cranky. Can I tell you?
People need hugs. Humans need hugs.
I need hugs. My cats are not good huggers. Can I tell you my fun story that I haven't told you yet at the coffee shop?
Yes, please.
I didn't hug anyone, but I have this new coffee shop I'm obsessed with, and I like walk across the little footbridge across Town Lake, and I get a short black coffee, and now they know my name and I know their name and they're new. And anyways, I was doing my like morning journaling and enjoying the view, and God, I love their coffee. And a guy like sits to my left, and I like sort of notice him, and I'm like, whatever. I hope you're proud of me, because I remember thinking he's smoking hot, but like I wouldn't have swiped on the app. Like, I know that I'm horrible. So I was like making the mental note again, as in, we gotta have like a lower standard in a good way when swiping on the app. Because I'm like, I notice his energy, but I know whatever pictures, if he had them on the app, I would not be like, oh, what's up? So I like gave myself that mental note. And then just to practice, but another guy walked in and was like, oh my God, are you so-and-so? And he's like, yeah. And he's like, oh, we're on the group chat. Basically, they work together. So the coffee shop is in a hotel. So, and it's like an international thing. And so they start talking and burr, and the new guy is the head of operations of the entire hotel and the coffee shop. And anyways, on my way out, I was like, I'm gonna practice not being the guarded bitch I am. And so I was like, hey, I totally overheard you guys and just wanted to like tell you some things about the coffee shop. And anyways, like I engaged, and it was so fun.
Love it.
And it was like just one of the first things that was so, I still remember when we started working together, and you were like, tell me about your guy friends. I was like, I don't have any straight male guy friends. And you were like, no wonder you act like a weirdo. And I was like, yes, because it's me, a universe of amazing women, some non-binary humans, and some fabulous gay men. And you were like, okay.
Yeah, but that's not unusual in adulthood.
Thank
for
you.
adult women, married women. And
Yep.
it's like, I came out and I was like, oh, yeah, I had like one guy friend. He was gay. And I was like, I guess it's time to rekindle. Because what happens for married women, is that you're conditioned to then like close up, lest you be accused of flirting with another man. So like we sever all of those relationships because, we're conditioned to, but like all human connection is valuable. All safe, loving human connection is valuable and needed.
That is the point. It was fun to chat with them. It was even fun to, the other not as hot guy operations dude tell him like Alyssa behind the counter is so amazing. And he was like, I love hearing that. And it was just, thank you for exactly how you said it. It was like, I can talk to strangers and it can be fun. And yeah, thank you.
So a couple more questions. One of the things that, and I think this is a little bit of like a dichotomy, it's like two things that are both true. One is I tell my clients, hey, because often I hear a lot of arguments for waiting on a romantic relationship, right? It's like, okay, literally one person told me, listen, I want to make $1 million first.
Okay.
She has not made $1 million yet. You have made $1 million. And she's like, no, I'll two, right? Exactly. She's like, well, it's easier to make $1 million than to find a good man. So I'm just going to go do that, which, that is her thing. I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
But my experience, and I think just what I know of humans is that I think love, true love in whatever form is part of our process. Like, it's part of that journey.
It made me a lot of money. I mean, again, my ex is my ex. It'll stay that way. It's all right as rain, but it's also like, I made a lot more money, a lot faster, which I've moved swiftly.
Yeah.
Truly, like, being spooned at night really shaves some anxiety. It really does. When actually, you've heard this story 10,000 times. When the business really took off for me is when we were dating, because prior I would just sort of work 22 hours a day and be stressed out, and sleep and wake up and worry and work and do all these things. And when I suddenly like needed to take a shower and look cute for dinner at 6:30 and knew I wasn't going to be coming home, I would get my work done because I was like, "Woo, date night, what's up?" And then identity, like, we are who we, in a way, like we are who we present as. So like, certainly when he and I were first dating, I wasn't like, listen, I'm freaking all the way out because I'm growing a business. It was like, I have a business. And in a way, it really leveled me up, like showing up in that way, because as I said, suddenly I was like, no, these are the hours that I'm going to work. I'm being the person I was presenting on that date, as in like, I have a business. And then we had our dates and blah, blah, blah. And so number one to that. And then at least my experience in both money making and finding true love is it has taken a little longer, like in the exact same time. It's like so fast and yet not as fast as I expected. And so I'm like, start now. Like, I have no regrets. In a way, I'm like, I've made this money so fast, I can't even get over it. But I'm also like, it didn't feel that way the first 6 months, or at least the first year. So thank everything holy, I started exactly the moment I did. And listeners, I re-upped with Sade, and I'm like, look, I'll re-up as many times as it takes. And not because it's like, financially available, but because it's like, look, all of our time, it's like, oops, I didn't realize I needed to iron that out. Oops, now I'm ironing this out. Oops, I didn't realize. It's like cleaning out, it's like easy to underestimate the inner work that'll get to happen, because it's all delicious and yummy and worthwhile. But it's also like, I thought, like, I'll be engaged in 3 months. And now it's like, we were ironing out some things that I had no awareness of.
Yeah. I mean, same for me. Same for me. Like a few months into my dating journey, I was on OkCupid, because we still used OkCupid back in 20.
I think it's still on.
Still there. I don't know. I'm afraid to look. I swiped my ex. OkCupid will give you, like, they have great data. It told me I was a 99% match for my ex-husband.
No.
And I was like, oh, okay. Apparently I should, I got some more work to do. And I'm so glad I found that out. I found out that work needed to be done so that I could work out whatever that was, so that I could get to where I am now. And I will be married 4 years now this June. Like, but it took, I think I was on the apps a good 18 months, give or take, plus all the work that happened and all the cleaning out that I had to do. So yeah, so there's that truth where it's like, don't wait because it's part of the journey.
Yes.
And then there's also the part where I've also heard people say, hey, wait, I can't afford the $50 a month to pay for the Bumble, the premium version. And I'm like,
so I made your face. I'm like, listen, if you fundamentally, the electricity lights are going to be shut off if you pay $50 a month for Bumble, then I'm like, work on making more money so that you have some more breathing room and have like the energetic and like the bandwidth, to actually be going on dates. Cause at least when I was worried about things being shut off and bills and all of those, when I was in true deep financial distress, the idea of dating never could happen anyways. Cause what if they didn't pay for everything? I wasn't going to go on a date. I couldn't meet someone at Starbucks because I literally didn't have $5 to buy my iced tea. So if someone's in that space, it's like, no, super prioritize learning how to make money so that you can meet someone at Starbucks without being in high anxiety, worrying, are they going to pay for everything? But past that fact, it's like one of my favorite things about money mindset is like, show me what you spend money on and I'll show you where your priorities are. So when people are like, oh, I don't have $80 for the quarterly, or I don't even know what it is, the annual, Bumble, or I'm also on Hinge now. I think that's like $20 for 6 months or something. Like, no shame, no shade, but it's like, okay, so you're just totally effing around. Like,
right.
Totally just like, I mean, if it happens, I'm okay with it.
Yeah. And one of the things I pride myself on working on with my clients is having a good experience on the apps. Like, I'm like, listen, the first step is to get you to a good experience. Like, hey, if you're having a terrible experience, you can't create, you always say you can't create apples from oranges, or you cannot
grow an apple tree from orange seeds. So like
a
horrible experience is not going to magically produce a joy-filled instant relationship. Like, what? No.
100%. Yeah. And so I'm always careful to be like, no, we got to work on that first. And there is a way to do that. And my observations have been, when you pay for the apps, you have a better experience. You just have more options. There's more things you can do. All of that.
Yeah. And just like we said, if it's like, no, the lights are going to get turned off if I pay for the app, then like shore that up and then come back. Yeah.
And I think it also impacts kind of like who you tolerate.
Oh my God. Also that, like, something that's been fascinating to me is how many like super actually just cheap dudes there are, which would make sense. Like, I talk about money all day. So of course I'm going to come across a few of them, but like, I'm not paying for the app, or like, oh, let's do this, 'cause that way, you don't have to pay for a date. Like, that's on their profile. And I'm like,
okay, that's a no. Thank you.
That's an easy no. But it's like, wow, dude, do you think, is that hot? Huh?
There are all kinds of humans in the world. There's all sorts of humans in the world. Yeah. Fair. So thank you so much, Serena. I want to just open it up for like whatever you feel like needs to be said that you haven't said. This has been the best conversation. Like, I'm just like, I know we could go on. I could like just keep going on.
I feel like we need to talk show someday, but since we're not doing that this week, thank you for asking me that question. I just want everyone listening to know that money is for you, and money loves you, and money wants to move to you and flow/work through you, meaning, on the other side of every bill you pay, every time you leave a tip, every time you buy something, on the other side of that are people who receive portions of that money. So, whether that feels immediately true to you, or even if it feels far away to you, like, money loves you, and you're worthy of love, dignity, and respect, no matter what your air quotes net worth currently is, no matter what. Hard stop, the end. And I want you to know that money is for you too. I think that so many of us are like, maybe it's for other people, and that's an illusion, and that's a lie. And that's part of why I work with you, Sade, is I learned with money, I get to choose it for myself. And for that reason, I was like, well, I'm going to hire support to make sure I don't give up on myself as it pertains to finding true love.
Yes. Yeah. It's 100% for you too. Like, what you seek is seeking you 100%. Yes. And with money, I think when you explain that, the visual I saw was like, it's almost like there's you could say a membrane, with cells, and money's moving, like the water and the nutrients are moving one way, but it's also moving the other way. And I think, like you said, with bills, we're always constantly seeing that part of it where it's going out, or the people that we're paying. But I think just taking a step out of that and saying, oh, we are people too.
Yeah, we're conduits.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much, Serena. Like, this has been the best conversation. You are the best money coach. I'm just going to say that.
Oh my God. I receive that. Thank
Yes.
you. Thank you for having me. And thank you for letting us, thank you for this.
Absolutely. So listeners, I hope you have enjoyed this conversation as much as I have. Serena has more stories. I'm just going to say that. There are so many more stories than we have shared on this podcast episode. So like, find her podcast. It will be in the show notes.
Holy Wow Money.
Holy Wow Money is the name of the podcast.
Yep.
Or search for Serena Hicks on all of the podcast episodes that she's done on her podcast tour. Follow her on her website, which is, could you just spell out where they can find you online?
Yep. You can find me. And then there's connections to literally everything, all the Instagram, the Facebook, all of the things, serenahicks.com. Serena, like our favorite tennis player. S like Sam, E like Edward, R, E like Edward, N like Nancy, A like Apple. Hicks is Hicks. serenahicks.com. And that website will let you sign up for email, find the podcast, find pods I've guested on. Let's be friends on Instagram and Facebook and Spotify. And Sade, thanks for having me.
Oh, thank you, Serena. All right, listeners, thank you for your time and attention, and we will see you next time.